same pattern. Tiki Barber and Brian Dawkins leveled.
That ball went out of here off the top of the wall. Chipper Jones just won the ball game.
We got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. 30 minutes.
Dee Brown electrifies the crowd and is the beginning of a new order here in the NBA.
Hey, Dan Hickett and Denny Thompson back again for our Hometown Heroes podcast. It's been so much fun. It's brought to you by Lockett Law, knowbeforeyouBlow.com, and we appreciate Lee Lockett and the guys at Lockett Law. And we got a very special guest today. He's one of my personal faves because we sort of grew up together, Dee Brown, didn't we? In Jacksonville,
yeah.
All right? I mean, we
pretty much grew up together. Like, you became big time Dan Hickett on TV right before my eyes while I was in high school and college. So I'm in the presence of greatness as well.
No, we are in the presence of greatness. D. Coven Cadell Brown, I used to call him, and that's his given name. But let's start with this. I mean, you're a basketball junkie. You love the game. You're playing hoops. You're doing well in high school. You go to JU, which is great. You know, a local kid staying home. When you probably had the dream in your mind, right? I'd love to play in the NBA one day. I want to be an NBA basketball player. But guess what? So do every other high school kid. Why you? Why did you make it to the NBA, Dee Brown?
I think I just try to stay focused and humble on not specifically that dream all the time. I kind of worked my way. Mm-hmm. Obviously going to bowls, going to a local small school, going to a 2A school, mm-hmm. going to state championships, not really getting the, I guess, attention that other players got from Jacksonville or around the state. It kept me hungry. It just kept me grounded. Understood there's a bigger picture if I did make it. If I didn't make it, then I had to make sure I fall back on my education. So that was, to me, my mindset was a little different. Mm-hmm. I used basketball to get a free education, not vice versa. So I knew just, hey, if the opportunity presented itself for me to have an opportunity to be an NBA player, I was going to be prepared. If that was my work, staying humble, stay on my grind, stay focused, and not saying that other guys who play college basketball or from Jacksonville didn't do that. Mm-hmm. I just being a local guy and seeing the opportunity that presented itself when it did. When I was actually starting to get a little bit of exposure my junior and senior year at Jacksonville University.
Right.
That's when I kind of started thinking this could be a potential. Not it was guaranteed, but a potential opportunity for me to really have a chance to be in the NBA. I think every kid dreams that. I mean,
sure.
I remember being at Bruce Park or, different parks around Jacksonville playing. Everybody wanted to be an NBA player if you were on a basketball court as a young kid because you watched the Celtics, Lakers, and mm-hmm. you watched, all those great Michael Jordan, all those great players, and wanted that to be your life as well. But I knew it was never going to be easy, and it was going to be given to me.
I want to follow up on that, though, Dan, because what do you feel, Dee, set you apart? Because most of the time when you see these first-round guys coming from the smaller schools, smaller Division I schools, they're 6'10", right?
Yeah.
They're 6'8",
right.
they're 6'1", coming from JU, a first-round pick. What do you feel like that part of your game was that just NBA teams went, okay, 6'1", JU, yes, let's take him?
I think the biggest thing was when I played against the big name schools, mm-hmm. I showed up. Mm-hmm. I showed up. We played at Virginias or North Carolinas or those type of teams. I had big games, like against the quote unquote bigger name players who were, had, at these big five schools. I was at basically a mid-major in the Sun Belt Conference at that time, holding my own or having better games than those guys. Also, I think a little bit of my versatility because I don't know if Dan remembers, in college I was playing like small forward.
Right.
Like I led the team in rebound in my last 2 years.
Yes.
In college, so I think people saw like, well, he's tough enough to play in this 90s basketball because they're very physical then.
Yes.
But also he's got a good IQ to understand how to facilitate, make plays. And I got a chance to showcase that a little bit more after my senior year and all the all-star games and workouts with teams and things like that. So I think that's what people saw a little bit more from a mid-major than me being 6'9", 6'10" athletic. I think I had a little bit of that grit and grind that the 90s players wanted to see. Because I mean, to be honest, I was 6'1", 165 pounds when I got drafted.
Yeah.
Like that was
160, 160 D, maybe 158.
160. Yeah, exactly. And I was getting, I was getting beat down, but they saw that I could still perform at a high level at that. And I think that was it. I think the summer, like I said, the summer after my senior year, I got opportunity to play really against all the best players in the country. I showed up, showed out, and I think that opened up some eyes, because it was, different times. It wasn't social media. There wasn't people posting video of themselves dunking on, Instagram or Twitter and things like that. You really had to see people in person to kind of get their body language, their toughness. I think that's what helped me out a lot more back when I came out in 1990.
Yeah, that was a 160-pound small forward, Denny, is what he's trying to say. He also we'll get to. He also has sold himself short a little bit on athleticism, and he could score too. I think he averaged over 19 points a game both years at JU. And no disrespect to JU, but JU was a little bit bigger back then, and it did play some better competition. But let's fast forward a little bit here, Dee, and we're talking with Dee Brown in our Hometown Heroes podcast, brought to you by Lockett Law, KnowBeforeYouBlow.com. Dee, I had the privilege of traveling with Dee to the NBA draft. So I will say this: there's no way a little Jacksonville television station is going to pay for me to go unless they're pretty sure Dee was going to be a first round pick. So we were pretty sure you were going to go somewhere in the first round. But that had to be a tremendous experience for you going to New York City and being part of that. This is when and again, there were some great players up there. And I remember, was it Derek Coleman? There were so many guys we talked to.
Derek Coleman, Derek Coleman, Gary Payton, Dennis Scott.
Yeah. In fact, Gary Payton was having a celebratory dinner in the restaurant that we went into after when he was drafted that night. Yeah, these were some tremendous players, but you had an inkling that you would be a first-round pick, didn't you, at that point? And tell me about that weekend for you.
Yeah, it was different because I went from after my senior year, having a really good tournament, breaking that one game I had, ended up breaking the single game scoring record in the Sun Belt Conference at 41 against Old Dominion. And I remember I was very, very focused on that game because we were playing against Chris Gatling. Ended up winning Player of the Year over me that year, and he was a junior, and I was so mad. I was so mad about that, and I wanted to just give him the business. He wasn't guarding me, obviously. He was 6'9", 6'10", but I wanted to make sure that people, knew
who you were.
Made their own choice. Right, made their own choice.
Yeah.
So then that summer, I went from maybe being a second round to, after my workouts, after my interviews with teams, after playing at that time the Orlando All-Star game and being the all-tournament team against all the top players who were ranked higher than me, I jumped really from a second-round pick to a first-round pick to really a lottery pick. Like I was projected to go between 12 and 20. So when I got there, if your dream come true once you get to that stage of the NBA draft, of being able to again walk across the stage and shake at that time David Stern's hand, hold the jersey up, put the hat on. It was coming reality. Like it was coming realistic, and that's kind of when you knew, wow, this could really happen. Like I'm here. You don't want to be that guy in the green room that sat there and your name to get called. So that was always a thought in the back of your mind, because things always change during the draft, trades and things like that. But back then, they were pretty much solid. Like if you're a first-round pick, you got invited to New York, and that was kind of how we knew, like, wow, this can really happen.
Hey, a two-part question on this, because I think all generations think that their generation of whatever they did is better than the current generation. But I don't think there's any doubt that when you went into the NBA, that generation, that era of NBA basketball was way different, and in my opinion, way better than what it is right now. How much, when you watch NBA basketball, how much has that changed? And then the second part of the question is, every June, July, August, around that time when these contracts start getting offered to guys that you really never heard of, and they're ridiculous amounts of money, how much of that just kind of ribs at you a little bit and goes, man, guys, if I'd have been born 20 years later?
Yeah, I mean, I think about that. Everything's relevant. And to answer the first part of your question about the league, I'm not the old guy sitting on the stoop and going, the 90s is better than the 2000 and the 70 players, weren't that good. I'm not that guy, because I think everything is generational to me. I mean, to me, I'm very biased. I'm a historian of basketball, so I can talk about it in a way about Wilt Chamberlain or Oscar Robertson and quantify what they did in their era and how would that translate in this era. It's hard to do that. It's just hard to do that. And the 90s to me overall, and that's, I look at it as an overall league, not just the best players, not just the Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewings, and Scottie Pippen, and Karl Malone's, not those players specifically, because they're, to me, great players are great in the era. I'm talking about as a whole, the talent level, the intensity level, the competition level across the board. It wasn't, there were no walkover teams in the 90s. Like every game, it was like each team had two or three guys that were all-star caliber players. And, to be able to start on an NBA team in the 90s, you really had to be really special. It wasn't this specialty role. It wasn't 3-and-D guys. It wasn't guys that just did certain things. Yeah, you had guys like Dennis Rodman that was just great rebounders, defenders, but that really wasn't a role that teams went to look for. If you go rebound 20, you get 20 rebounds a game, you got 20 rebounds a game.
Right.
It wasn't like, that was your role. So the 90s to me, just because of the so many great players, you look at the top 50 players, a lot of them came from the 90s. You look at a lot of players that played, again, think about this. The 10 years in the 90s, there were two champions. Michael Jordan won 6, and Olajuwon won 2. So that's 8 years out of the 1990s that two players, two teams won the championships. And there were a lot of great players that didn't win championships because of those two guys. After that, I think the Kobe and Shaq won like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was tough to win in the 90s. Like it was, things were changing. The Bird and Magic was kind of transitioning out. Jordan was taking over. So that reason why I feel, and I played against those guys. Like people always ask me, well, who's a better player, LeBron or Jordan? I retired the year LeBron came in, so I've spent time with LeBron, done a lot of his camps. I played against Michael Jordan, never played against LeBron. So I can only speak on the people I played against. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Like it's like him, and there's everybody else. That's just my opinion.
Sure.
As far as the contract, it's funny because Larry Bird's always teased me about the same thing. God, I was born too early. If I was born when you were born, D, I would have made the money you made. I remember when I signed my second contract with the Celtics. At that time, it was the highest contract in Celtics history. Oh. It was 6 years, $25 million. Okay, right. 6 years, $25 million. 3-4 years later, Antoine Walker comes in, signs for $89 million. I'm like, wow. Wait, I'm the captain of the team. I'm like, wait a minute. I should have been like. So it's all to me relative based on the era. Obviously, TV deals, concessions, all these new, arenas, suites, tickets. It's all economic, one-on-one. Like the more money you bring in, the more you can pay out.
No doubt.
Yeah, but you're talking about guys that are like, you're talking about guys that are like the 1 and 2 on teams. I watch NBA,
right,
and every June and July, there's a guy that's on a $100 million contract, and I have no clue who he is.
I don't either. I've worked in the NBA. I'm like, really? Somebody just thought, and I get that part. And that's the part, again, is timing is always part of it. Like,
why are you trying to make him feel bad, Denny?
if you're at the right year. And Denny, there's a lot of guys that get paid a lot of money, and you're saying, wow, the guy he couldn't, hold a jockstrap to a guy that played in the 90s. But again, I'm not a hater on guys making money. I want to make as much money as they can. And then, great for them. But, you do look back and go, man, I get mad at my mom and going, wait a minute, you could have waited a few more years to pop me out, But I think my experience in the 90s, to me, supersedes any amount of money. Of course, I would like to make as much money as I could.
Sure.
But it superseded just because I think I played in the greatest era. And sure, baseball players say that about baseball. People say that about hockey.
Right.
But I felt that way. I played the greatest era of basketball just because it was kind of the big push. The dream team came out. Where everything's international. Shoe wars are coming. I did the Reebok thing, and then everybody, all of a sudden, now everybody wants to worry about basketball shoes and who's wearing what shoes and having their own brand. Like, I was a part of a beginning of why these players now can make so much money and have big shoe contracts and have their own brand. To me, that's valuable because, I can walk in any arena and see any young players and they know who I am. They call me an OG. To me, that peer respect supersedes a lot of things that you're saying, that guys who really should be making $12 million a year, listen, just say thank you. That's all you need to say to me. Thank you.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dan Hicken and Denny Thompson talking with Dee Brown on our Hometown Heroes podcast, brought to you by Lockett Law, KnowBeforeYouBlow.com. Denny in Indianapolis, where he's working with some young quarterbacks this week. That's why he's on the phone. And we're visiting with Dee. Dee, you went to the Boston Celtics. A kid from Jacksonville, Florida, from Bowles and JU, gets drafted by the Boston Celtics. I just wonder, when they took you and you went and there they are, Larry Bird and McHale and the Chief, and I mean, what that experience. You made the NBA All-Rookie team, by the way, but I wonder what that experience. I mean, that had to be. And I thought, I'm not sure, and you can tell me this, but were you a Laker fan or a Celtic fan, Dee, growing up?
You know what? I was a Laker fan. I was a Magic Johnson fan. I'll say that.
Okay.
I was a Magic Johnson fan as a point guard because everything was Lakers Celtics. It's funny you asked that question because I remember every Sunday or Saturday on CBS, it'd be always Lakers Celtics, or Philadelphia, pop in at one spot, and Tommy Heinsohn.
Yes.
I was like, this Tommy Heinsohn dude, man, he never shuts up. Like, he talked about his Celtics. You would think he worked for the Celtics. In my history knowledge going like, he was like one of the greatest players to play for the Celtics.
Yeah.
So he used to be on TV. I'm like, this guy, man, he talks about the Celtics, boy. He talks about the Lakers. So when I got to Boston, I remember my interview. I go back. I remember my interview with the Celtics. I didn't physically work out. I didn't do a workout with the Celtics. My whole visit with the Celtics, I met with Red Auerbach. And to me, that was the greatest experience as a basketball player I ever had in my life.
Sure.
I sat in his office. You sit in his office, it's probably has more stuff in history than the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like, everything's in there. He's sitting there and he's talking, and again, being a history buff, this is like a dream come true. To be talking to like the patriarch of the greatest franchise in basketball history, 16 championships, all the Hall of Famers. So when I got drafted by the Celtics, people always talk about what's your greatest moment as an NBA player, to win the dunk contest. I said, no, hearing Red Auerbach say he wanted me was the greatest honor.
Wow.
Because he could, he's done a pretty good job of picking players and coaching players and running organizations first. So let me say, it's funny because I always remember the time because he's got that big, strong Boston accent, and we're drafting a god, 6'1" from Jacksonville. He announces it. I replay that in my head all the time because I see the video sometimes. That there was unbelievable. So when I got there, just being around him. Just the history, being on the parquet, being Old Boston Garden, practice every day. he was at practice every day, and it was like the Godfather and his court. Like, it'll be him, and on one side of him, sitting at half court every practice, it'd be Sam Jones, Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn.
Golly.
On the other side of him, it'd be Casey Jones. Russell will pop in there once in a while, but it was 5 or 6 Hall of Famers every practice on top of the 3 I was playing with on the court.
Yeah.
So it was the greatest experience of my life. I couldn't pick a better organization to go to as a young guy who never left home. Went to a veteran basketball team that was vying for a championship my rookie year. I got an opportunity to play and help the team. I think it won. My rookie year, Chris Ford, who's the head coach, was the coach, the All-Star coach, because we had the best record at All-Star break. So, listen, it was a great experience just being in that environment, because I think it helped me grow a lot quicker, mature a lot quicker, because I had those guys who knew how to win championships. They were still top of the game at that time, being around me. So, yeah, I couldn't pick a better place for me leaving Jacksonville, Florida, to go to than Boston, Massachusetts. And it's just a great experience from there.
You mentioned the dunk contest, and I know you spend probably 80% of your year telling dunk contest stories. and people,
but you have to.
People remember
it's so good.
Yeah, and people remember the no look and all that. But I've got to be honest with you. Last night I went through and anticipating talking to you today, just kind of did a little bit of research. And honestly, I had no idea the other people in that dunk contest. Holy cow. It's not like the dunk contest of today where it's, whoever. And I think it's the story that you were an alternate, I believe. But just talk about the other, remind people who was in that dunk contest that you won.
Right.
Kenny Smith. Otis. Otis Smith.
Otis was in it.
2 Jacksonville guys. Yeah, Otis was in it. 2 Jacksonville guys. I told him for the contest, I was kicking your butt. I wasn't worried about Otis.
No.
You old, broke down veteran guy. Let's say Blue Edwards, Rex Chapman, and Kimball Gill, who are the vocal favorites because they're playing with the Hornets.
Yeah.
Kenny Williams, and of course Sean Kemp. And again, I was alternate because I was like I probably was the last guy chosen because I think somebody dropped out. I don't know if it was Dominique or somebody dropped out. And I was, during the course of the year, the year before I won the college slam dunk contest. And then, so I kind of had, my reputation of being a dunker, came into the league, had a lot of great dunk alley-oops, Celtics dunking, the guys at the Celtics dunking, because that's when we kind of was going young. It was me, Reggie Lewis, Brian Shaw. So all of a sudden went from the old big 3 with Parrish, McHale, and Bird to the young, they used to call us the Zip Boys. The Zip Boys, that was Tommy Heinsohn's pen name for us, the Zip Boys, because we were faster. And they were not used to us alley-oops and dunks and fast break windmills. Everybody was like, what the hell's going on in Boston? So that's how I got in, based on winning the dunk contest in college, but also just, obviously a Celtic in a dunk contest, people are amused by that. They're like, wow, Celtic in a dunk contest.
Right.
How about that? We thought we'd never see that ever in history. So that's how I got in the contest. And I was definitely not the favorite. A lot of people knew about me who were obviously knew about the college thing.
Sure.
The best story I have about the dunk contest being there, we're all sitting in the stands waiting for the contest. There's other contests going on because at that time, the dunk contest was the marquee event. Everybody was there.
Right.
I remember looking around and Will Smith, that's when he was like the big time, the Fresh Prince.
Wow.
Every NBA player is there. Obviously, the Jordan and the Magic Johnson out there. Everybody's there. Like, that is the marquee event, the dunk contest. You don't miss that. You go to the NBA, you do the parties, but don't miss the dunk contest. So we're all sitting there, and I'm sitting next to Sean Kemp. And that, Dan remembers I had that high top fade, and Sean Kemp had the same thing. So everybody's asking for autographs. Hey, Rex, hey, Sean. So I'm sitting next to Sean Kemp, and one kid goes, hey, Sean, is that your little brother next to you? Because Sean Kemp, he was like 40 years old at age 20. And that pissed me off so bad. I was like, I'm not Sean Kemp's little brother, you know, because we're right in our uniforms and everything. We're just sitting in the stands getting ready to go to the locker room and get dressed later for it. And that right there was like, okay, it was almost like the Chris Gatling thing. Okay, I got to show everybody who I am. You know, the pump-up thing was spontaneous. Nobody knew about it. Reebok had no clue. I already had to sign the Reebok deal already because they're based in Boston. I wanted to be with a local company. So, I turned down a Nike deal and signed Reebok out of college because it was based in Massachusetts. So no, Reebok didn't know, had no clue I was going to do that. So they're kind of, flabbergasted and kind of like, oh my goodness, what did he just do? Just get again.
They didn't say that, D. They said They said how much money did he just make us?
I made him a lot of money. Trust me. I'm still on the Reebok contract to this day because of that. You know, and those things. So can you imagine how much money I made for them? And the last dunk, I think I've told people before. The last dunk, the no look dunk, I never did it before. I made that up on the spot. Like I never practiced that dunk.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to do it.
Whoa. Hold on now. Hold on. You're telling me, let's just be crystal clear about this. When you say you've never, because I heard you say that on the interview that I was watching last night. When you say you've never done that, you've never done that anywhere before that. You decided that was a good idea when the entire country was watching and it was the final dunk.
I didn't know if it was a good idea when I did it. I didn't know if it was a good idea when I did it because we could be 20. I went dunk contest 30 years ago. We could be 30 years later talk about. Remember the kid that tried to do the dunk and hit the side of the backboard? Like that could be an MC. So
it was all or nothing, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, how I got to that point was, I had. The second dunk, I forgot what I did. Sean Kemp missed his dunks, and I had higher score than him. So basically, before that dunk, I already had won the dunk contest. I kind of knew that in my head doing the math. I don't think everybody else knew that. That dunk didn't win me the contest. I already had won.
Okay.
So I was thinking, wow, I got to do a signature dunk that nobody's ever done before. I had a couple other dunks I could have did that nobody's still done before that I was going to do, but I wanted something that was a signature dunk. You think of Michael Jordan, you think of what? Take it off from the free throw line. You think about Dominique, you think about windmills. I was like, I got to do something. In the 90s, or when I was my contest, we couldn't use props. So we couldn't jump over people. We couldn't jump over chairs. We couldn't use another person. We couldn't use hats, whatever. So I was like, man, I got to think of something quick because I want to do this dunk. I know it's a good dunk, but I didn't feel like it was going to be that, generational, we're going to talk about it, dunk. So I'm sitting on the box. I said, hey, I can close my eyes and do a dunk. Wow, that'd be cool. So they give me the ball, and this is all going on between me getting the ball from the referee and running from half court to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. All this, what is that, 6 seconds?
Yeah.
This is going through my head, all processing in 6 seconds. Still got a dunk in front of 25,000 people and all the people that's watching. So I'm running and say, I'm just going to close my eyes. Oh, no, they're not going to know I close my eyes. So I'm put my hand on my eyes. Oh, well, no, they might not know that. So I got to put my arm on. So it all just kind of gravitated to close my eyes shut. If you look at the picture, my eyes are closed. Mm-hmm. To my hand, to my arm, my head, just going into my elbow and dunking it. That's how that dunk became.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
The question is, where are those sneakers today?
They're the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they should be.
My trophies at home.
Uh-huh.
And I give another story so when I retired, my last year at Orlando Magic, I went right to the front office.
Right.
And Sean Kemp has just signed with the Magic the year I retired, and we lived in the same neighborhood, right? So I knew that. I knew he had to drive past my house, and I was good friends with Sean before this. I knew Sean had to drive past my house to get out the gate to go to practice. So I wasn't playing him. I was in the front office. And every once in a while, every morning, when I knew he had to go to practice, I would sit outside with my trophy. So he could drive by and see it. And I would stand up, and I would show it to him, and I would put him 2 next to it, go second place. And he would laugh. I think he told the same story on one of his podcasts with him and Gary Payton. Mm-hmm. That I would do that. And he would get so pissed.
Well, we could go on forever, but
I can confirm.
Yeah.
Well, let me confirm, just because I need to. This is the first one of these hometown heroes that we've done, Dan, that has cost me money.
How so?
Because in my research last night, I came across a hoodie and a T-shirt.
Okay.
That Reebok is still selling, the Pump It Up hoodie and T-shirt. So I purchased those.
Okay.
But I do have one request from you, Dee. Like, can we get the low top pump ups? Because I'm not really a high top guy. Like, I'm in my mid 40s.
So here's the thing: the low top pumps, they're called Insta pumps. All right, so they're different. So there's a version of my shoe that are low tops called Insta pumps. So they're a lower version, smaller pump. Look those up. The shoe that I won the contest and I wore during the contest and came out again 30 years later, about a month and a half ago, sold out in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
The white ones came out today, sold out already. So there's other shoes that are coming out, but the low ones are the ones that are probably, again, they call Insta pumps. You go get those. They're low tops. You love them. They're comfortable. They're light. They're great for running, walking, whatever. So those are the ones that
Insta pumps. All right, I'm
gonna send Dan a picture of them.
Okay.
So he knows exactly which ones I'm talking about.
I'm looking. I went on my phone right here and I looked real quick and I saw a couple of these Insta pumps, but D, it says $1,219.99.
You must be looking at a special.
I was already in stock.
I don't know what's
All right, here we go. eBay, $250, $295. All right, we're getting a little bit back down. So that's a Reebok Men's Insta Pump Fury $200. Okay, that's better. Hey D, but real quick before we let you go, and we appreciate the time so much, and I could talk to you all day. Denny and I just so much love doing these and visiting with these guys, a lot of our heroes from Jacksonville. But tell folks what you're doing now. What's next for Dee Brown?
Well, I've been in the NBA for 30 years, obviously, as a player.
Coaching, a lot of coaching.
At different levels. Last 5 years, I was front office executive for the LA Clippers. I was a GM of their G League team. I was vice president of player development and evaluation and scouting. And then I made a decision. Like, listen, I wanted something challenging. The Clippers are a great organization, great team, going in a great direction. But I wanted. But what happened was when COVID hit, it changed your perspective on a lot of things.
Sure.
And you started seeing that, where can I make an honest difference? Because, after a while, you make money, you live your life, but then it's like, okay, where can I make an honest difference in people's lives that, with things going on, at the core root of where can I be? Where am I most needed? And a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to spend some time with President Koss, the president of Jackson University, Alex Ricker Gilbert, who's an AD, and Dr. Fran Kinney before she passed away.
Right.
And Dr. Fran Kinney was an inspiration to me at Jacksonville University because she was like a mother figure to me.
No doubt.
And she would pick me up after games at Memorial Coliseum and drive me back to campus, and we would talk anything but basketball. Anything but basketball. How's your life? How's school? She was that type of woman. So a couple years ago, I got a chance to spend time with her before she passed away, and she said, "Dee, how's your life going? Like, how do you feel? What are you doing?" She knew what I was doing, but she was 100 years old. But she remembered everything. She was telling me stories.
Incredible woman.
In the car. There's a memorial for her this weekend. I hope you can get there. People can get there this Sunday at JU, honoring her life. So 2 years ago, it got me thinking, like, there's an opportunity for me to make a difference in an area where it's home. I went to school there. I grew up there. And my background in student-athlete development, life skills, growth on and off the field floor, there's opportunity that maybe I need to look into a little bit more. And had conversations with our athletic director, President Koss, and said, "Dear AD, we're lacking this type of things on our university, our campus. Are you willing to listen and maybe be a part of our senior leadership?" I was like, wow, like, the media hardly think about this. So I left the Clippers and took a job at Jackson University as executive director of athletic and university relations. I'll be basically a culture director, a coach's coach. So I'll oversee a lot of the sports administrators the coaching staffs of all sports, not just basketball, every sport that JU offers, be a liaison between athletic director and the president, spend a lot of time on campus with the student athletes, but also just connection back to academia side, making sure that, the university is being represented the right way in the community, and just basically being a person there that will develop programming for our student athletes, not just, all 450 plus student athletes, on preparation for why they're learning during the 4 years there at JU, and also the preparation for life after college.
Well, listen,
really cool.
congratulations. Yeah, that is so awesome. Yeah, and we're happy to have you home too, by the way. So
yes, and I'm excited to be home, and my family, my mom and dad still lives here, so they're happy. So it's good to be back. My son is happy. He's going to bowl, so he's happy. Because I just had my number retired there a month ago, and so he's happy to be a part of that legacy and build his own legacy. So it's a really exciting time to be coming back to Jacksonville.
We appreciate the time so much, and continued success. I would say, they made a movie called It's a Wonderful Life, but you've certainly had one so far. And I know you got a lot more chapters to write, but thank you so much, Dee.
Definitely. I appreciate it. Thanks, Dan. Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yep, that's Dee Brown. Denny, thank you. It's our Hometown Heroes podcast, brought to you by Lockett Law, KnowBeforeYouBlow.com.